Hold on, because what you're about to hear might completely change how you read attraction. Today, we're breaking down 3 very specific signs that can reveal when a younger woman is genuinely drawn to older men. We're talking about women in their mid to late 20s, sometimes early 30s, who secretly feel attracted to men much older than them, guys in their 40s, 50s, and even beyond. And yes, these women absolutely exist. More than most people realize. The real challenge isn't whether they're out there, it's knowing how to recognize them without embarrassing yourself or stepping into awkward situations with someone who isn't into that dynamic at all. Here's what matters. First, you need to understand why many younger women won't openly admit what they're into, even if it's exactly what they want. Second, you'll learn how to present yourself in a way that naturally draws out her true preferences. And third, there's a subtle conversational approach that allows her to hint at her interest without having to directly say it. Everything starts with the first idea, so don't overlook it, because if you miss it, you'll misread everything else that follows. Let's begin with the first sign, and it's probably the most important one. You cannot rely on what she says. You have to observe what she does. Burn that into your thinking. Actions always carry more truth than words in these situations. Words are easy to control, especially when someone is trying to protect how they're perceived. Behavior, on the other hand, is much harder to fake consistently. Here's where it gets interesting. Younger women, especially those in their 20s and early 30s, often filter what they say based on how it might be judged by others. If they're into something that feels outside the norm, they're far less likely to admit it openly. Not because it's not real, but because they don't want to be labeled or judged. Social acceptance matters a lot at that stage of life. Fitting in with friends, family, and their environment plays a big role in how they present themselves. Compare that to women who are older and more settled in who they are. They're usually more direct, more comfortable owning their preferences. But younger women are still navigating identity, reputation, and social circles. So even if they have a strong attraction to older men, they'll often hide it behind safe, neutral answers. They won't risk saying something that might make them stand out in a negative way. There's another layer most people overlook. Many of these women have already explored a wide range of ideas, fantasies, and interests privately. Just because someone appears sweet, reserved, or traditional on the surface doesn't mean that reflects everything going on internally. People are complex. Everyone has their own curiosities and preferences, and not all of them are shared openly. So the key principle is simple. Don't focus on what she claims. Focus on how she behaves. That's where the real information is. And this naturally leads into the second sign. The second sign is about how she responds when presented with the right kind of presence. Think of it like this. You become the signal that reveals her interest. If you want to understand what she's drawn to, you need to give her something to react to. That something is you. But this only works if you actually represent the type of man she could be attracted to. You have to show up in a way that aligns with the image she might already have in her mind. And that image isn't average. It's not careless. It's not someone who looks like they've stopped putting effort into themselves. Many older men make the mistake of blending in. They dress without intention, neglect grooming, carry themselves without confidence, and end up looking like everyone else around them. There's nothing distinct, nothing that signals strength, success, or self-respect. And because of that, they assume younger women aren't interested in older men at all, when in reality, they're just not responding to what's being presented. If you want to stand out, you have to be intentional. That means taking care of your appearance, dressing with purpose, maintaining good posture, and carrying yourself with confidence. There should be a sense of control and direction about you. Not arrogance, but certainty. Not desperation, but calm presence. There's often a subtle edge as well, a sense that you have your own life. your own standards, and you're not chasing approval. That kind of energy is what separates someone from the crowd. And when you present yourself like that, you're giving her the opportunity to respond honestly through her behavior. Now pay attention to how she reacts. Does she stay engaged in the conversation? Does she smile more, hold eye contact, or lean in slightly? If there's light physical contact, does she reciprocate? Does she seem comfortable, even curious? These small signals matter. They're not loud, but they're real. You're not forcing anything. You're simply observing whether she moves toward you or away from you. That's the entire point of presenting yourself as the bait. You're creating a situation where her natural response becomes visible. Now let's move to the third sign, which is more subtle but incredibly effective. Since she's unlikely to openly admit her attraction, you create a moment where she can hint at it without having to say it directly. This is where tone and delivery matter more than the exact words. You introduce a playful observation, something that lightly suggests you understand her personality. For example, you might say something like, "You seem like the kind of person who keeps things interesting, probably more than you let on." Then you add a slight twist, something that implies a dynamic without stating it outright. The key is to keep it light, confident, and slightly teasing, not serious or confrontational. Now watch her reaction closely. If she immediately shuts it down or becomes defensive, that tells you something. But if she smiles, hesitates, blushes, or plays along, even without saying anything directly, that's a different signal entirely. Silence, in this context, can actually mean agreement. Not because she said yes, but because she didn't reject the idea. You're giving her a safe way to express interest without putting herself in a position where she feels exposed or judged. And that's powerful because it respects the social pressure she might still be navigating. When you put all of this together, the pattern becomes clear. Younger women who are attracted to older men usually won't say it directly, but they will show it through their behavior, their engagement, and their reactions when the right situation is created. So instead of asking direct questions and hoping for honest answers, shift your focus. Watch how she responds to you. Put effort into how you present yourself. Pay attention to the small signals that most people ignore. And create moments where she can reveal interest without having to announce it. If you start applying this, you'll notice the difference almost immediately. Interactions become clearer. You avoid unnecessary rejection, and you begin to understand what's actually happening beneath the surface. Try it for yourself. Stop relying on words alone. Let actions guide your interpretation. Present yourself in a way that stands out, and observe how she reacts when given the space to show you what she really feels.